Learning from others. I touched on it just then, but it's while you're out there behaving as a professional, you'll be able to take the opportunities. You'll be able to learn from others. There's so many resources out there. You may not think that you're getting that opportunity, but just by talking to people, mixing with them, you'll find that one opportunity will lead on to another opportunity. So it's important to take those opportunities when they arise. So I guess what I'm saying, it's not rocket science. It's you're using common sense, the common sense approach, but adapt to the particular environment that you're in. And I've learnt, with my current work, my current job, dealing on Australian campuses, dealing with the offshore campuses. I've got to deal differently when I go and visit my partners overseas. So I've got to think about their culture, the way I should behave, the way I should talk, the way I should respect. And I'm finding that through experience, it's not easy in the beginning, but through experience you pick up vibes, you pick up body language, you pick up the way people interact with you, what's expected. So please be conscious of all those different aspects when you're dealing with people. Otherwise you'll find that the help is not going to come your way. Next aspect I'd like to talk about is what are the attitudes that industry expects of you. Now, putting industry, think of industry as being, it could be just one sector, it could be the whole industry, it could be just a small group of people you're talking to within that industry. The first thing that comes to mind is, if you've organised a meeting to meet somebody, for example, it's so important. If it's a 10 o'clock meeting, make sure you're there at 10 o'clock. Nothing upsets people more than if you're late to a meeting. I mean, sometimes it's unavoidable, sure, but please be conscious of that. Whenever I try, and if I've organised a meeting with somebody, I always make sure I'm there 10 minutes, 15 minutes early, because I'm always thinking, if my car breaks down, if the bus is late, or I can't get a taxi. So I always give myself plenty of time, because one thing I just cannot stand, and you'll find that most people in the industry think like me in this respect, if you're there at 10 o'clock, you've got to be there at 10 o'clock. People are busy. People have got a busy, we're all busy. So just because you think you're busy, don't think like that, please, because everybody is. So it's so important, if you're saying you're going to be at a meeting, make sure you're there on time. Doesn't matter if you're early, just sit in the foyer and just wait. You cannot go wrong by doing that. You won't lose respect by doing the right thing in that respect. Emails. I know emails are taking over our life, but it's interesting, when I have evaluations done on myself from students or colleagues, it's interesting the number of times I hear, "Oh, Greg, we really appreciate the fact that you get back to us with that email." It might be within the next 24 hours, but I'll try and do it quicker if I can. But it's important to respond in a timely manner, so that, again, this all adds to respect, the respect of you by others and vice versa. So that's another one. Phone calls, getting a phone call. If you're out of the office and there's a message on your phone when you come back, there's an answering machine on. I'll try and listen, or take the advice of if somebody is looking for me, to try and follow that person up. Because again, just little things like this can go a long way in creating success for you. So it's all about timeliness, whether it's the written form, whether it's on the telephone, whether it's emails, whether it's arranging a time for a meeting. Please be conscious of the fact that people are busy. We are all busy in our lives as we're striving forward. So it's important that you've got to make that extra effort to get there or do what you promised to do. Nothing hurts me more if somebody says, "Oh, I'll send you that in a couple of days' time, Greg." It might be a letter that I'm waiting for, a draft or something, and nothing comes. Then I've got to ring that person up. It makes it's difficult for me to chase that person up. The other person feels bad about me chasing them up because they feel that they've let me down. And And I just question then when that happens whether the end result is what I was hoping for in the first place. So it's really simple things in life, such as that, such as timeliness, that can go a long way in creating your success and again what industry expects of you. Now the last point I'd like to talk about this morning is what I think are the attributes of being successful. Now I've covered a lot of things in terms of behaviour, industry standards, code of ethics, all that type of thing. But the bottom line, or underpinning all this, I think is passion. Showing passion. Showing that your heart is where you want it to be. Other people realise that you're very committed to what you're doing, and by doing that it's infectious. If they see your passion, if they can experience or feel your passion, then it'll be a two-way street for you. You'll get the results coming back the other way to you. So passion. While with passion, having fun. I mean, whatever you do, let's have fun. Let's create an environment where you enjoy getting out of bed in the morning, simple things, getting out of bed in the morning, going off to work, going off to do your creative undertaking that you promised yourself you're going to do today. Have fun, have passion while you're doing it. Also, in terms of that, as well as having passion, the time management that I mentioned before, time management is so important. To have fun, to have passion, you need a work-life balance. Now, to get your work-life balance, you've got to. Some people find it very difficult, trying to balance the two. It is hard. We've all got our private lives, we've all got our business lives, we're working lives. So trying to find the balance between the two of those is a skill in itself. So you've got to be conscious of that. You can't just give your whole life to one side, because you're going to end up a boring person, you're going to end up a stressful person, and at the end of the day you probably have trouble achieving those goals that you set out when you first started. So have fun, have passion, but please be aware of that work-life balance, because that's all those together will make a successful person out of you. There may be other opportunities, that come up that you're not expected. So you've got to be prepared for those. I know, from time to time there'll be a special meeting that I don't, or I've run out of time. I'd love to go to that, but I better not, because I might miss out on doing such and such. Well, that comes down to priorities, and sometimes you've got to forgive yourself for missing out on one thing so you can achieve that other thing. But it's only up to you. You make that decision. You're the only one that can control that aspect of your life. So please consider those type of things as you're going forward. Another aspect, I guess, is I sort of briefly touched on it, but I'd like you to think of, when you think of successful people out there, the hours they put into a week. Gone are the 9 to 5. Gone are the you work 9 to 5, whether you're a paid employee or your own business. It doesn't work like that anymore. It's more of a hard work doesn't hurt anyone, as our grandmothers used to always tell us, but it's so true. Most successful entrepreneurs, for example, they're not going to work 8-hour days. You'll find that they'll be working 15, 20, 25 hours a day. So work doesn't stop just because it's 5 o'clock. So you'll find that by putting those extra yards in, by putting that hard work in, you'll get dividends. You'll be rewarded. But keep in mind about having fun, having passion while you're doing it, because there's nothing worse putting all those extra hours in for the sake of putting the extra hours in. That's not going to achieve it. You've got to be passionate while you're doing it, while you're putting those hours in. That's what's going to take you forward. It's not just the fact you're putting the extra hours in. You've got to make those extra hours effective. And you'll find that any young entrepreneur, as they start off, that's one lesson they learn early in their space, that they've got to put those extra hours in. And whether that's networking, whether that's working on your passion, your creative idea, your innovative idea, or whatever, it's regardless of what it is, you've got to put those hours in.